Okay, so we're going to look at the spun bearing today. So we've got the crank here. The crank came out quite easily. No bolts seized or anything like that. And we can see that there is some, there's some really light scoring here, but you can't really feel anything, so that's okay. And kind of everything's looking pretty good as we move up. There's an oil blob, it's not a burn. And there's some heat marks, but then on the end, we have a wonderful, hello, I'm a spun bearing. So what I'm going to do is, I saw this on YouTube, so we'll see if it works. I'm going to see if I can prise it off gently, not causing any damage, just to see how spun it in fact is. Or how seized it in fact is, I suppose. Okay, so actually I used a screwdriver and I wedged it in what I can see is a natural join. And one half came off and it's taken some material with it, but it actually came off quite easily, so I'm fairly confident. I've managed to wedge and prise this a little bit as well, so I'm just going to take this knackered piece of bearing off as well. And yeah, I mean, it's taken some melting, obviously it's taken some heat there, and there is, you know, clearly some scoring. If we can get a close-up of that, maybe you can see that there is some scoring there, and in feeling it, it is actually quite smooth still. I can feel ever so slight. I think we've got away with it quite well. Apparently if you can feel it with your nail, that's a bad thing. I can just feel it with my nail, but I've seen a couple of videos of people actually polishing them up with kind of recessive grades of wet and dry paper. So I'm going to give that a go, because who knows, it might actually work, might actually do something. Okay, so what I've got is I've got some different grades of of paper here. I'm going to start off at 1500 grit. See that on there? That seems to be where a lot of people on the internet start. So I'm going to heavily spray some sort of lubricant on the journal, which I now know they're actually called, and I'm going to spray the paper too. And I've seen this wonderfully clever trick of people doing it using a shoelace. Let's see if that works. So what I've seen is wrapping the paper around, not too tight I'm guessing, because you don't want too much friction, and then threading a piece of lace around a few times, and actually using that to pull the paper around, hopefully not taking too much material off in the process, because of course we don't really want to alter the size of the journal at all if we're going to save this crank, and saving this crank is what I have as a priority now. So I'm going to give that a little go like this, and we'll give that a go. Okay, so has that had any effect? Yes, it has. How much, I'm not sure. You can't really feel a great deal under the fingernail. It's actually fairly smooth. It's obviously not anywhere near as smooth as the next one along. It's a bit of red paint, but we shall see. I'm going to move up to 2500 grit now. There is actually some minor bits of pitting left in there. Let's see if we can zoom in. We can actually see some minor bits of pitting there. So I don't know if that's smooth enough. And if anyone's watching this video and they've seen and had lots of experience with crankshafts, if they can tell me if that is actually smooth enough to pass, because yeah, I mean, there is, I don't really want to get it ground, but there is still some pitting in there. So yeah, if anybody knows, please let me know. The thing that's become pretty obvious is that I will need a new set of pistons. None of the conrods are bent. This is actually the number one that had the spun bearing on it. The piston itself is in kind of okay condition. However, because it had a spun bearing on it, I don't trust it, and the conrod, there's a lot of scoring on there as well. So I kind of don't trust that one. So that's the first one. The second piston is possibly a bit laughable, in that it seems to be in really good condition, minus the piston rings. So I say laughable because I don't know how much to trust or otherwise. So humorously, I reckon that seems okay, but I just simply don't know. And I say that with confidence because on some of the other pistons, we literally have some chunks and chunks of metal that have come out. So that's on essentially number 3, and number 4. Got some chunks of metal missing. The piston rings are basically worn down to a stump. Number 5, same story over there, can't see that one. And number 6, really quite heavily marred and tarred and scarred and carboned. In other words that maybe rhyme as well. And again, the piston rings seem to have worn down to a nub. So I'm not confident in all of those. So what I have done is I've ordered from North Carolina, funnily enough. I've ordered a complete set of pistons. They look in good shape, and I'll probably be making just a new set of pistons. Making a new set of pistons? Using a new set of pistons. They should be from the right engine, so fairly confident about that. The thing I'm not confident about, though, is this number 1. Firstly, because it's like heavily carboned, and that was the spun bearing, and I'm not exactly sure the solution there, other than getting the crank ground at the moment. Which I don't really want to do because I know nothing about bearings, and I don't know if I need to get one general ground, them all ground to be uniform. There are so many questions, I literally don't know the answer to any of them. YouTube is vaguely helping me at the moment. So, do I need the crank ground because of that spun bearing and the pitting that we can still see? New set of pistons, will that solve a problem? Do I need different size bearings if I get it ground? The crank spun nice and straight, it didn't seem warped, so that's my only saving grace right now. But yeah, that's the pistons and the crank. Yeah, there's a lot of things in there I don't know. Okay, so what did I learn today? Okay, today I learned really what a spun bearing was. Not just words, I learned actually what a spun bearing was. And a spun bearing, of course, is a bearing which has spun and welded itself to the crank. Mine came off quite easily. I don't think I did too much more damage, if any damage, in taking mine off. So I think I got away quite luckily with that. The crank seemed to spin quite well when I had it in the block. So the bearing's off. I tried giving it a polish like I've seen on YouTube. That has kind of worked, but there's still some pitting there. I've left with quite a lot of questions today. So firstly, the pistons, I don't trust any of them really. There's a couple of quite nice ones there, but I don't really trust any of them. So the new set will hopefully sort that out if they arrive from America, if I haven't been scammed. We'll see later today if I get tracking details. And in terms of the crank itself, questions I have. So I don't know if that level of pitting is serious enough that I need to get the crank ground, or if it will be absolutely fine because it's a couple of millimeters here and there and everything else is pretty smooth. So that's one question. Second question, if I have to get that crank ground, do I have to get one journal ground or do I have to get them all ground? Third question, if I do that, what do I do with the bearings on the con rods? Do I get bigger bearings, thicker bearings? You know, how do I manage that? I literally don't know at the moment. I've contacted Cambridge Rebores in Cambridge, and I think they're going to help me out. They've come highly recommended, so I'm going to speak to them, see what they think, because they're going to be having a look at the block as well. So hopefully that's going to be okay. But I've got a lot of questions after today. I don't know a lot of information. And so if anybody does know the answers to those questions and you're watching this, I would genuinely really appreciate it if you could give me some advice, tips or tricks. But other than that, I think for the moment, the crank is in situ. It's staying where it is. There's nothing else to do on that. So it is onto the head again. My problem with that is I've got nothing to take the little keepers out at the moment, and the last one, that method didn't work because I got hit in the eye and I lost one. So I've ordered AliExpress again. I've ordered a little magnetic keeper destroyer, and we'll see if that works. Hopefully it will. It's only £4.61. Hopefully that will be absolutely fine and work a treat. I've ordered a couple of other little bits and bobs as well, some penetrating fluid, some more gloves, because I've gone through about 100 of the damn things in the course of 2 or 3 weeks, and yeah, the costs are spiraling. I had a project board. It was just here. It has fallen onto the floor, so I'm going to be sticking that back up as well, and yeah, there we go. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, and if you like the video, please do like it, and I will see you in the next one.